Well, here it is. Ford Transit 2014. Jumbo, extra long wheelbase. That's a high top. I bought this with already got a sunscreen over the top. It's also got a little bikini fairing or nose fairing, and benefit of a private plate, which is good. And it comes in this nice blue colour. So we've got our base for our camper. Inside, again, some nice features. Seats are in really good condition, as you'd expect. It's done 80,000 miles this. It has got a bulkhead in it, which we're going to remove. 6-speed box, 2.2 diesel. Again, driver seats in good condition. It's got all the Bluetooth, electric windows, and it also has all the controls on the steering. So some nice touches, an armrest. So I probably won't change these seats as I did in my last one. I'll probably just leave these as they are and just put this particular seat on a swivel unit so the whole thing can swivel round and face inside the camper. But yeah, generally the cockpit is good condition. So brings us to the back of the van. But a good sized van, all in all. So whether I put an electric step on here, haven't decided yet, but that's the inside of the van. Paintwork is in general good condition. It's got a added bonus of a spoiler on the back. Some people like them, some don't. Again, this was how I bought the van. And it brings us round to the back. And like I say, nice, good condition. Also, front and rear reversing sensors, so it's good. So here we are then. So the Transit is now in Andy's workshop, which was quite difficult to get in. Side panels, you can see, are already out. So I've took them out. They were just done with normal screws. I've marked on there just where they actually come from. And then I'm just in the process now of taking the plastic flooring out. We can see that just by taking the panels out, how much more room we've got now in the sides. So give that a clean up and clean all that dust and that off there. And then we're going to be doing sound deadening. So yeah, got the sound deadening. Started by doing the side panels of the van. And through the middle of the sections, like you can see on there, and then I put smaller sections above and below those ones that you can see there. I also did the roof, and I also did the front compartment above the overhead locker. I did this actually on both sides of the van, and the only panels I didn't actually do is obviously where I was going to be cutting out for the windows. As you can see on this picture, the windows aren't actually cut out yet. So we got myself a nibbler, and I think that's going to be much better than a jigsaw. That's what I did. I got a nibbler and I cut the windows out, marked them out first, measure from the ground to make sure it was going to be okay for height wise, and make sure they were going to be the same angle, obviously, front and back. Made sure I painted the edges of the windows with just a hammerite paint. Did this both sides. This one, when I cut them out, I realised actually the windows are slightly on a curve. And although the van looks completely flat on the side, anyone will tell you that vans are not straight. There's curves, bends, and all sorts. So yeah, I used a nibbler. I think that's the best way. You don't get the tiny little bits of steel that seem to magnetise to everything. Put the windows in. These are Dometic windows. I went for sliding windows on the front and just sort of opening ones, bottom opening ones at the back, so all 4 windows do open. In hindsight, actually, I think it would have probably been better if I had have put the original transit ones in, and I think looking back, I should have put them in, really. The main reason for that is you would get a bigger window at the front, they'd be more secure. Not that these aren't secure, but I do like the fact that with the normal one, the only obviously problem with having the normal transit ones in the fronts would mean that you can't open them. I suppose that's just a bit of a downside on that. But these domestic ones are really nice. They fit really well. As long as you Sikaflex them in and clamp them up with wood, like I've done on the backs there. So the technique for that is cut them out, make a frame up that you can slot your window into, and I just slotted it into it on the bench. Then once I knew it was right, I put the frame on the back of the in the inside of the van, on the back of the panel. Then I used clamps just to clamp it tight once I'd got my heights right, so I knew the window was going to be in there tight. And then just Sikaflexed them in and made sure they stayed in. Then when you screw the inside panel in, it sort of brings them both in together nice and tight. So on the passenger side, this is, you can see the wooden frame there. And then once I'd actually made sure that they were in and, they looked okay from the outside, because once they're in, they're in. So, you have to be fairly accurate with, how you're doing that. It was then time to move on to the Skylights. This is the back one, and this is for the Max fan that I've got. Great bit of kit. The only trouble with this was where I wanted my Max fan, which I thought would be better, because obviously you've got the ridges in the roof. Obviously I'm going to be on the outside too, so I had to think about the best place to mount them. Yeah, you just basically, same thing as the windows, make a wooden frame. Had to cut the cross member, like I say, on that to actually get it in. But once that was in, did the front one. That's just a standard Dometic one, and then the next stage was getting the insulation in. This is Celotex. I put it in with stick pins. I thought about whether to Sikaflex them in as well, but Sikaflex is quite expensive stuff, and I didn't really want to use the cheaper brand stuff, so I went for stick pins, which I was advised to, and they're really good. They sort of just, you stick them to the roof, clean the roof, and make your insulation onto the top of that, and then bang the pins over. Floor then went in, built up the floors in places where some of the ridges were, just in some of the places where there'd be quite a bit of foot traffic. I carried on through and made sure I raised them up so that when I put the actual 25mm insulation in the bottom, that they wouldn't move and it wouldn't sag over time or anything like that. But that's quite a neat job, isn't it? It looks really neat in there. I was really impressed when I got to this stage. I was really pleased, and especially pleased when I got the floor in. Once you get the floor in on that, it just transforms it. It just starts to make it not feel so much like a van. Same with the windows and the ceiling, the roof itself. It was just brilliant. When I got to that stage, I was so pleased that it started to come on. And then, as you can see from the sides, I started to use the recycled installation for the really hard to get places that I couldn't get with the normal Celotex stuff. Taped up all the edges of the insulation with the foil tape, just to ensure there was definitely a vapour barrier there. And then Andy then had to get in the back and start some bits with regards to electrics. By this stage, we were already at the point of hiding all the electrics behind all the top lockers. I'd hidden it all the way through the back of the lockers, rather than having a trunking on the side, as I think you might have seen from the beginning of this section of videos of where I bought it, and I did that little video of a walk around of it. You'll see there was a trunking along that top side. Well, I got rid of that. I didn't want to see any wiring in my van, so I got aircraft cable wrap and things like that, and really expensive stuff to make sure there was going to be no chafing of any wires, and cut extra holes open and stuff, and that was a real pain. Not for me, but for Andy, who did all the electrics. So hats off to you, Andy, you did a really amazing job. So yeah, you can see that once I'd got that in, it was a case then of getting the insulation in the sides, the solid insulation I'm talking about now. Went round the windows and got the panels in, which I knew I was gaining already. I was gaining a bit of space, and then I got straight on to putting up the vapour barrier. I went through the process of wrapping the whole van in the vapour barrier, and it's strange. It looks like it should be on a space shuttle or something once it's all in. I had the whole van, and people were coming into the workshop and they were going, crikey, have you got enough insulation inside there? So I proper wrapped the van up. But I think it's worth it. It looks good. You know that it's sealed up. All the joins I did with the foil tape. It's all around the windows. The only thing that I haven't done there is I didn't do the door. I could always do that as a separate entity, because once you've got to this stage where your floor's in, your windows are in, your roof's in, or your skylights are in, if you like, and your cabling's ready to be poked out, you're basically into the next stage then, where you have to sort of go to the back of the van again, which is, I worked, as I say, from the back of the van, I worked forward where I could. So this is the back of the van, and this is the hole for the Max fan. I just got some 3mm ply, got the rough measurement of what the van is as square. I tried to keep it as square as possible. When I was doing the insulation, and when I changed anything, I tried to, even if I could, just bring sides out to make them square. But I basically got the 3mm ply, got it measured up, got the skylight, did a drill hole through the middle, and then roughly, marked it out with a black pen, turned it over, and then got a router and just routed round the edge. Just having to be a little bit careful there, because I've got the cables for the Max fan poking out from where the frame would be. The Max fan sits on that frame there, and yeah, you'd have to be a bit careful that you sort of didn't go through it. In this one, this is where I'd actually managed to cover the top panels. Once I'd made them up, I got a leatherette off the internet, a roll of it. It's quite cheap stuff, actually. It's worth getting for what the finish is that you get. I bought some scrim foam, which is like you can get different thicknesses, different mils, like 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10mm, I think, or whatever. And I scrim foamed it first, glued it on with spray glue, and then glued this leatherette material on top. I weren't sure what colour to go for, but to keep the van light, I decided to go for like a creamy colour, and I also decided to do it with like the button screws, I suppose you would call them. They're like a cap that you push the screw through, and then they cap them off. I've seen people that haven't done it this way, and I've noticed that after a year or two, depending on how they've done it, the roofs can sort of just sag and start to move if you try and just glue it up or anything. So for how much these caps are, and I thought, yeah, I'll just put them up with that. Once I'd got the roof up, though, the good thing was Andy could then get me some sort of light in there. The trouble with working in these vans is the light is not great sometimes. So, yeah, we started to get the downlights in. These are touch LED lights. You just touch them for them to come on. And you can see the hole for the bathroom there. That's for the electric vent for the bathroom. Looking front towards the front of the van, this is as far as I could go with most of it. I'd already made a template for the bulkhead, because I would need something for the panels to meet as it came forward. But right now, I couldn't go any further forward than that. So on the internet, I found a overhead top brake light with a built-in camera. Excellent. I thought, that's just amazing. Good reviews. It was like £100. Bought it. Fit it on, wouldn't fit because my van's fitted with a spoiler, and I'm going to be chopping the spoiler out. So I was like, no, I think I'll bin that off, and I just went back to the original one. Then once the roofing parts were in, I keep saying roofing. Once the ceiling was in, I then went back to the bed and had to think, right, well, I'm starting the back again now. And working forward, the main thing was to go to the bed, and once I'd got the bed size right, everything else could come off of that, because the bed did need to be sort of 6 foot long, and I was having it at 4 foot wide. So I've got this main horizontal brace in there, and then made a top frame, and just to bring the back of the van out a little bit for I needed to do some stuff. So for other reasons, I'll go into that in probably stage 2 or 3. It'll become more clearer why I did build the back of the van out like that. But made this frame at the back there. Once I'd got that, I got central, and then I made some cardboard templates for the back part of the bed. This is mainly for the top lockers above the bed. It gives them a back plate. I was going to do this out of furniture board at some point soon, really, because not long after I'd got the bed in, that was my next stage, really. So I'd made these templates in preparation for that. One day when I was sitting there with not much to do, or I couldn't get on, so I made these cardboard templates. I did that a bit through the project, actually, where if I couldn't get on, rather than just stopping and thinking, well, I can't get on, I actually decided, right, well, I can actually measure for this, or I can actually do that. So sometimes some of these bits sat around for a little while, but this one, actually, these back ones, I made it in 2 halves, because really, again, getting one whole section of this out of a board was never going to work. Once I did that, I then got on to putting the side panels on then. So because it had been insulated and we'd had the vapour barrier in, I was then able to get the side ply in. These were all going to be covered with carpet, so I again did it in cardboard first, as you know, it's the trend all the way through, really. Cardboard first, then I did it in a 3mm ply, and then finally offered it up to these sections. And by the time you get it to this section, you should really be fairly tidy in your corners. It might need a bit of shaving here and there, but it didn't really matter at this early stage. I was still kind of learning. I'd never done anything like this at this scale, so I'm quite pleased with the effect there. I think it looks okay, to be honest. I don't think it looks too bad at all. I think it looks quite tidy, and that's as far as I got, really. That's where I am with it on this set of stage 1 build. We kind of started to get a bit of carpet on, but mainly that was as far as we got on that stage. I've then had to leave it for a little while after that, with other work commitments. But yeah, I mean, up until that point, I was really cracking on. Some bits took a little bit longer than others, if I'm totally honest, but generally it was good. So yeah, not bad start to actually the build, and you can see that it's really starting to come on. It's amazing how you get a floor in, you get some windows in, how quick you can transform it. But it's really important to make sure that you get the electrics in really early. They've really got to go in early. I still made a few mistakes towards the end where I was like, if only I'd have bought an extra cable. So my tip would be, get as many electric cables through, because I bet you will need more than you think you need. So look, I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, share and comment. Look out for build stage number 2, because that is coming soon.